evening. We are back in the studios with Dr. Naveen Mehrotra, who is known in the New Jersey area as a pretty famous pediatrician. I know you have a problem with the word famous, but we are here every 2 weeks for the program called My Whole Child. And this initiative really is to bring the community together to form an integrative approach towards solutions for children. And I'm going to use the word solutions because it's not just about them being sick, right? It's about healthy solutions towards healthy kids.
Right, and I think it's just a discussion about various issues that come up as we're raising our kids. And yes, Anika has introduced me, and now I'd like to introduce Anika, who is a mother of two, and brings in that perspective. So I am a pediatrician.
Whose job is to keep you real here.
So I am a pediatrician in private practice in the central New Jersey area. And this initiative is, as Anika said, trying to bring the best of allopathic as well as non-traditional type of treatment strategies into the forefront and creating an integrative approach to child care.
Towards the objective being to find a solution, and it doesn't matter where the solution comes from.
Right.
So I know we spoke a little bit about this 2 weeks ago, and what we want to discuss today is something that I think every parent has come to you with, and which is basically picky eating or picky eaters, right?
Or let's even create a broader term of just food in general.
Okay.
And I think this is one of the most common reasons or the most expansive topic that I discuss in my regular care.
Yes.
So whenever a parent comes in for a well child visit, this is, or even if they're coming in for a sick visit, it's an issue that they're always concerned about. And I don't know if it's just our South Asian culture or if it is something else.
No, so I have friends who were born and brought up here who are not from Southeast Asia or South Asia, and their kids, they have complained that they are picky eaters too. And I'm wondering, is there a medical term to this?
There isn't. And actually, I think this is such a hot topic. There's somebody calling in already. So let's try to take that phone call and see what they have to say. Hello? You're on the air.
Hi.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah. Who's this? And can you introduce yourself? And just...
Yes, my name is Shampa.
Hi, Shampa.
And,
hi Shampa.
Hey, how are you, Anika?
And
and we're here with Dr. Naveen Mehrotra.
So have you had issues with picky eating and trying to overcome that problem with your kids?
Yes, I have a brand new 13-year-old daughter. And,
brand new as in you just got her from some store, or brand new as in she just turned 13?
I just opened the wrapping.
The wrapping into teenage years, as that's what they're called. 13, that's what they wait for. And what's going on with her?
She's always been a very picky eater, always. To the point that I think a couple of weeks ago she told me, okay, I'm turning vegetarian. And we are from Bengal, and you know that's the sacrilege. So, but she literally, eats maybe like one broccoli or something for dinner. Very picky with breakfast. But my question to you, Dr. Mehrotra, is this: I'm very regular with her doctor visits, and you were just talking about well visits. I always take her for that to make sure that she's on track with her weight and her height and everything. And she seems to be doing well with that. She is not underweight. She's very energetic. So, where do you kind of push the child to eat more, because you feel very uncomfortable that she's not eating enough, but physically she seems to be okay.
Right. So this is, I think, one of the most common causes of concern, that what the parent's perception of what the child should eat and how they want to impose those rules and regulations on their child, and how the child fights back. And that becomes a constant source of stress and fighting at home. Because
believe me, and I have my mom who lives with us, so.
Right. So that sometimes complicates the issues even more, because the older generation comes in with the concept that the child needs to eat and the child is not healthy, and that they need to gain weight and be chubby. But what we have seen is that if you let go of the child and offer the food and leave them alone, it really, and don't nag them, it becomes much easier for them to eat. When somebody is constantly breathing down your neck, it becomes very, very difficult for them to take that authority. So,
Has she always been a picky eater, even when she was a baby?
Yes, Anika, she was born quite healthy. She was like over 8 pounds. But ever since she started solid, she's kind of, not been a very, what we term as a healthy eater. So
Okay.
that's what I can see. But it's gotten worse.
So was there some sort of a triggering factor that you think that
I'm
could
wondering
end
whether, whether it's peer pressure or...
Yes, absolutely. That has a big part to play in it. And she's a dancer, and she learns like 6 dance forms.
Right.
And I think there's also a lot of peer pressure there at dance schools to kind of, be very thin and,
Well,
some kind.
There are a couple of things going on here. One is definitely the teenage years, when they are focusing a lot more on their body image, and they want to make sure that they are, slim and fit, and what their other colleagues or friends want them to be, or what the media advertises them to look like. So if you look at all of the media advertising, most of the models that you look at are very, very skinny, and that's who these kids identify with. So that is definitely an issue with this age group. But the other thing is that in terms of eating, there are certain things that we push them to eat, and we say you have to eat, but it becomes really an unpleasant experience for the kid.
And for the parents.
And for the parents,
Yeah,
yes. And
yeah.
what happens is that as the child, as you keep on breathing down their neck, it becomes really a fighting factor, and they want their autonomy, they want that control. So, if you can back off, but at this point it may be a little bit difficult because all of their habits have been developed, but you still need to back off, because no matter what you do at this point, they're not going to...
She's only going to rebel.
Right.
They
Yeah.
will do what they want to, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's trying to find a happy medium.
Yeah.
So,
Shamba, thank you so much for your question, and thank you for dialing in.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, kids. Good night.
But she's right, I mean, so it's amazing that this is, I'm so happy that this has come up, because we think that picky eating could be because of certain kinds of foods, but it looks like the factors could be external as well as internal, right? So,
Right, so there may have been a trigger factor.
right.
And there are a whole host of trigger factors that can happen,
Right.
especially in the very early years, when if a child has some sort of reflux, some sort of acid issues,
Right.
some sort of food allergies,
Yes.
and the child has an internal mechanism which they learn that they should
reject
avoid,
that
to
food.
reject that food.
Right.
So once they start to reject that food, the parent feels like, oh my God, this kid should be eating, why is the kid not eating?
Right.
And nobody really pays attention.
How can this kid say no to me? They are 3, I'm 33. This has become an ego hassle, so you're right. You're
So
right.
then it becomes it blows out of proportion. And then as the kid starts to rebel,
Yeah.
and the parent wants to impose that authority, and the kid wants to rebel,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth, and it
It
explodes.
becomes less about food and
Right.
more about the relationship.
So
and-
typically when, all of these moms come in, a lot of these moms that come into the
Frustrated,
practice,
obviously.
frustrated,
Yeah.
and they are spending 1.5 hours, 2 hours
Yeah.
trying to feed this kid.
Yeah.
They're doing a song and a dance, they have an iPad, they're
Yeah.
putting on YouTube channels just so
Yeah.
that their kid can eat.
Right.
But
But I mean, as a mother of 2, as you reminded the audience, I have to say one of the things that I consciously wanted to do, like I'm a vegetarian and my husband is not, but I remember your advice to me as my pediatrician was, even if you want them to have meat, make sure that it's almost like after 2 years, so that they have had an opportunity. I don't think you remember this advice, but I remember this advice. So that they've had an opportunity to expose themselves to vegetables. It was probably one of the best pieces of advice you gave me, because both my kids now love broccoli. But more than that, it gave me an opportunity to expose them to a wide variety of foods. And I know that that's one of the comments one of the parents put up when we put this question up on our My Whole Child page, was that it looks like the more we can expose them or have an opportunity to expose them, the less they would be picky. Is there something to it?
sure, and I think you need to expose the kids in a non-threatening way.
Right.
So
What's a non-threatening way? Eat it or else.
Yes. So, so the thing is, on a daily basis,
Who's your daddy? Eat it or else.
you offer them the foods, and then
Yeah.
you try to encourage them and coax them. So
Yeah.
let's say if they don't eat something,
Yeah.
don't take it as a personal threat.
Right.
It is not a personal attack.
It's
on
not
them.
about you.
Right.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
you can leave the kid, and then you go ahead and at the next meal time try
Right.
it again, and
Right.
then at the next meal time try it again.
Right.
Don't go chasing them
Yeah.
throughout the day. अरे बच्चे ने खाया नहीं है, अरे कुछ हो जाएगा, अरे
Right.
कुछ हो जाएगा.
Right.
And then you start to substitute with milk or with cookies or with
Yes.
anything
Yes.
that kills their appetite.
Correct, correct. Does it also help to offer them choices? Like I know I've done it with my kids. Well, you can either have broccoli or you can have broccoli. That's not a choice. But my
So-
point being.
So what I tell all the moms when they come in here, oh my God, doc, is something going to go wrong
Yeah.
if the child doesn't have a meal?
Yeah.
And I said, nothing's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
Look at Anna Hazare, who didn't eat for 30 days. And
I don't think that's a great example to give to children who might say, Anna who? Remember, these are kids born here, Dr. Mehrotra. I mean, they're not very tuned in with like India. Maybe we need to give them
but
a
the thing is,
Hollywood example.
but the thing is, if the child skips a meal or
Yeah.
2 or
Yeah.
3,
Yeah.
there's nothing that's going to go wrong.
Yeah,
Our job is to make sure that they go ahead and try to take as
Yeah.
much as they can,
yeah,
and encourage them, and to make sure there is not a medical problem with the child.
yeah, yeah. No, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Let's just, we're going to take another call here. Hello? You're on
Hello?
air? Hello?
Hi. Yes, hello.
Yeah, hi, who's this?
Tina, yourself?
Hi, Sina, how are you?
Good.
So, have you had issues with picky eating and trying to deal with that on a daily basis with your kids? How old are your kids?
I have two. I have a 3.5-year-old daughter and a 1.5-year-old son.
And what sort of issues were you having with them?
Well, my son was extremely picky and would only eat certain foods with like the iPad or the TV on, which was a habit that I had kind of created, just because I wanted to have him eat, and I would do anything to get him to eat. I was making multiple items per meal. If he didn't eat one thing, I would make another thing for breakfast, or 2 to 3 things at a time if he wasn't eating.
And so it was basically like a restaurant, right? You had a menu of things.
Yeah, I was becoming the chef. That's right, I was becoming the chef.
And how much time were you actually spending on trying to feed the child?
Oh, like an hour each time, at least an hour for each meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
And what would happen if he wouldn't eat? What would happen to you?
I was stressed a lot. I was very stressed out. My whole life was about feeding him, basically, was consuming my entire life. And I felt bad because I guess I wasn't spending as much time with my daughter, or we weren't doing anything, we weren't going anywhere. I didn't plan anything. Everything was based and planned around his meal time and his eating.
Oh my goodness! So you wouldn't go anywhere if that was his meal time?
Yeah.
Wow. So how did you actually then? Are you still with that issue, or has it been resolved at this point?
It has been completely resolved.
Oh, well, that's great.
Well, one of the biggest things I did was I came to see, I was my future time to see you, and the first thing I said was, take all these things away, you're creating a monster, and I was. So we stopped with the iPad, we stopped with the TV, and, I made one thing. I said, okay, you can eat this. If you don't eat this, that's okay. You can have a snack later, and then we'll go to the next meal, which will be lunch. And then we started sitting down together as a family versus me just standing there and trying to constantly feed him and feed him and feed him. And we brought him closer to the kitchen, to the dining table, and we were all sit together. And that seemed to help a lot too. He saw all of us eating, my daughter eating, and so then he would start eating too.
That I think is
Yeah.
a very, very,
Yeah.
it's a great point, because
Yeah.
we tend to forget as families,
Yeah.
we're always on the run,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
we're,
Yeah, but that's a great point, because it looks like you made eating about family time and less about getting the food into the system. Am I right?
Right.
In that? Yeah, and that seems to be really nice, because suddenly the focus became on food and what food does. Maybe your child started thinking, oh, food is mommy time, or food is when my parents are paying attention to me. And maybe that helped too. I don't know, it's just a hypothesis, but
right, and it becomes really non-threatening at that
Exactly.
point, because it becomes more of a fun thing as opposed to an authoritarian
endearing.
coming in, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it became less of a stressful situation because it was more of a family thing, it was a sit down together kind of thing.
And now we have to go out to restaurants together. I go out, alone and go out with my husband to dinner. And it's been a huge difference. It was my entire life was based on just feeding him.
Wow.
For months.
Well, that's
So,
great. It's
yeah.
a success story, I
Yeah,
guess.
I'm curious. Does he get just like you? So I, so this is probably a good question for all the other parents who are struggling with this. You did not shy away from showing your frustration when he was not eating. What about, did you reward your kids when they were eating? Like, did you give them gold stars, or was there an incentive thing?
Well, he was too young to understand, like, I guess, rewards.
Yeah. I don't know, a mommy hug? Yeah, you know what I mean?
We would always do, like, good job, and we would clap. And
Right.
like, enjoy that and make him smile and laugh. So that became a big thing. We would say a lot of good jobs in the house.
Great.
Well, that's great. So thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thank
sharing
you.
that with us. So thanks for the call.
Okay, thank you.
Wow, there are a lot of picky eaters out there.
Right. So I think there's some great learnings from what
Yes.
this mom just told
Yes,
us. Is
yes.
that you need to go ahead and take that stress off of the family.
Yeah,
And make sure that you go ahead and make that a fun time.
right,
Everybody should eat together.
right.
I know in our household we try to make sure that we eat at least one meal together. So
Right.
dinner has to be together
Right.
wherever we can. I mean, there are
Yeah.
some limitations, but you have to try to do that
Yeah,
and make it non-threatening.
yeah. And I remember, we were at the Partnership for Healthy America recently where Michelle Obama made this comment, and she said, it sounds like a small initiative, but it'd be great to get the fires burning in the kitchen again. It would be great to get food to be about family time again. And I thought she made a great point, just like this mom,
Yeah.
which is that make food about fun and make food about healthy and make food about family and less about you got to finish this, otherwise you can't get up, or you got to finish this, otherwise you're going to be punished, and then food becomes an ordeal
Right.
versus a fun time, right?
Yes, it's a constant battle in a lot of households. And I
Right.
think if all of, or most of our Desi
Yeah.
moms stopped, being so pressurizing
Yeah.
the kids about this, I think it'll be much happier in the long run. It will take a few months
Yeah.
of training, but I think it'll be a great end result.
Yeah, I also, I think there's also an opportunity, when my mother would cook for me, I think she was just happy that she could get me something nutritious. So I don't think we had the most creative meals. Dal looked like dal, and sabji looked like sabji, and chapati looked like chapati, and maybe I wonder whether getting creative with food also helps. I mean, is that something, is there a thought there?
Sure, I think it does. And
I mean, not
also,
that anyone has the time to be creative.
well, that's true. I think in this day and age, a lot of people are very stressed for
Yeah.
time as well. But one of the other things that I tell parents is to let your kid go shopping with you in the fruit and vegetable aisle.
Oh, that's a
Let
great
them
point.
choose. Take the different colors of fruits and vegetables.
Right.
Empower the child and tell them what would you like.
Choose something.
Choose something.
Yeah.
Have
That's
a
a
different
great
color every day.
Yeah.
So it could be a different fruit or a different vegetable.
Yeah.
So put that on your plate.
Yeah.
Figure out what you want. So give that child some autonomy so that he or she can take that initiative and move
That
forward.
also gives them bragging rights in school the next day. I had dragon fruit. What did you have?
Sure,
It's a great conversation.
and there's another thing that actually one of my nieces, a pediatrician out in Seattle, so she's working on this where they actually make the kids grow gardens.
Okay.
So you plant your own vegetables
So you're almost empowering.
right.
Yeah, okay.
So you actually then have the child take those fruits or
own a
vegetables
share too. Okay.
right,
okay.
and it creates a lot of interest for them.
Right. I think it's also a great opportunity to see that food actually comes from real plants. I mean, instead of
Sure.
being packaged and.
Right.
Right.
So I know we are running short of time, so I do
Uh-huh.
want to let everybody know that if we did not get to your questions or concerns, you can definitely join our Facebook page,
Yes.
My Whole Child. We also have our website, mywholechild.org.
Yes. On Facebook, please look for My Whole Child as 3 separate words, and all you have to do is like, and
Right.
you can instantly access, I think, the videos of our talk shows from. the
Right, or if you go to our
previous
website,
months as well.
mywholechild.org, there's a lot of information there as well.
Yes.
And we do want people to converse and give us their tips, what has worked for them, what has not worked for them.
Yes.
And we will be taking different topics every other week on this show.
Yes, because it is about, my whole child. It is about finding solutions. It's not about reaching the point where a child is sick. to then find a solution. It's about creating, not creating,
Right,
raising.
So the other thing was, very quickly I wanted to add, since this is an integrative
Yes.
talk show, a lot of people will come to me about appetite stimulants.
Yes.
Oh, my kid doesn't eat. Can I get an appetite stimulant?
What's like Hajmol as an appetite stimulant?
No.
Okay, I'm
No,
sorry.
something like in Ayurveda or some tonic. Oh, doc, can you give him some tonic? That'll make him start eating. So
Oh, you
there
can
are
create hunger.
create hunger,
Okay.
right? So that the kid will start eating, and that'll be the
The
magic
way you
bullet.
said it sounded so much more like, I don't know, scientific or whatever. Okay, a hunger creating tonic. Okay.
So parents may go to different types of
I see.
treatment strategies, Ayurveda or one of the other
That sounds
naturopathic.
like desperation. That doesn't sound like a treatment strategy.
It isn't, and
Yeah.
that's what I want to make sure that people
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
That you can. There might be lots of quacks out there who are trying
Yeah.
to sell this,
Yeah,
and especially if you go to in India, there's a lot of
yeah.
stuff that's being sold
Yeah.
as an appetite.
Yeah, and I think one of the main points that we're trying to make in this show, and I can say this because I'm not the doctor you are, is talk to your doctor. Even if he or she is having a frustrating day and does not have the time for you, make some time. Call him or her and ensure that you have an opportunity to take your problems and discuss it with your pediatrician or your doctor, because it's important. The more information you give him or her, the more they'll be able to help you.
Right, and believe it or not, there is a medical diagnosis called feeding problems in a child.
Right.
So when we actually report all of these diagnoses from our visits to the insurance company,
Yes.
there is an exact diagnosis.
Of course there is. This is America. We have a name for everything. So on that note, you could go to mywholechild.org. You please join our Facebook page. Become a part of the conversation. You cannot have a point of view that is against something unless you're part of the conversation. So join the conversation. Let's create a parent conversation.
And they can also
around
email
this.
as well.
Yes,
At
to-
drmehrotra1@gmail.com.
Yeah,
That's
or
the,
they could call your office at 732-819-8800.
Sure,
You're available in Piscataway and in Edison,
right,
right?
yes.
And we will see you here again in 2 weeks. It's a date. Thank you, Dr. Mehrotra.
Thanks a lot, and I hope that we were able to...
You meant thank you, Anika, is what you meant, right?
Thank you. Always. So thanks, Anika, and thanks for all the listeners
Yes.
who called in, and also anybody who has any concerns,
Yes.
please do let us know.
Yes.
So, thanks.
Yes. Until next time.
WWTR Bridgewater. Suno, देखते देखते
My God, flying so low.
वो तो ठीक है Cambridge College so much
Flying
fees
solo.
we both have
Flying solo.
Oh.
colleges here.
Not so low, so low.
Interested in securing your dream college admission? Well, you want 11